I apologize if this kind of skirts the line of getting too close to giving away stuff schematically, but I've noticed in the last two games, you guys have played a lot of six defensive back sets. Does that kind of speak to what you guys see as the strength of your defense, or just talk me through what went into that decision?
Well, just the personnels and formations we've seen the last couple of weeks. More spread, four wide situations, and especially last week with the splits we were dealing with. We need more DBs on the field just from the standpoint of a lot of those wide receiver splits were on the sideline, and being able to cover guys on the perimeter and be able to, cover all 53 of the field, the width of the field. So, we've got some different packages that will be able to match certain personnels that offenses are giving us, and things that we've got to be able to, not only match the right and have the right personnel on the field, but be able to play the right schemes.
And we saw several freshmen make their debuts over the weekend. In particular, defensive tackle Ahmed Hassani. I apologize if I'm butchering that name, but what stands out about him on the field?
He's physically ahead, for a freshman. He came in very strong. He's continued to improve his strength and his understanding of the fundamentals and techniques, and obviously the schemes. So he's a young man that, like most of the freshmen, we got off to a slow start because of some protocols, but we've been able to really get him going in the last 3 weeks here. And last week was a huge week for him, and he stepped up and he did some really good things. Obviously, we got to continue to get him more familiar with some certain pieces of the defense, but he did a really, really good job for his first time in there, and he's physically capable of handling himself, Ron. He's pretty dang strong for a freshman.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thanks.
How's it going, Andy?
What's up, Jay?
I know that we'll talk with Tim here in just a little bit, but they made a pretty big deal about it on the broadcast that he moved down to the sidelines for that game to call the game. So what went into that? I mean, obviously you were part of that decision. So what went into that? And they also continue to say that the players really wanted that to happen, to have Tim move down to the sideline. I just taking the broadcast for their word, but what can you tell us about all that?
Well, I mean, it was just, again, we're trying to evaluate coming out of the previous week, and as we will this week, just where can we get better? How can we be more efficient as a staff? What can we improve on? And, that was something that, Coach Plow and I had spoken about on Sunday, the previous week, just going through how we can be better, how we can be more efficient during the course of the game, and tossing some ideas back and forth. And then the players came to us on Monday after our walkthrough and stuff, and, brought it up in discussion. They wanted him on the field. They believe in him. They want him down there in the middle of it, in the fight with them, and to be able to, he's got the answers. He understands. And I thought it was awesome that the players felt the same way, actually, that, Plow and I had been having some discussions the night before. So the players answered the question for us. And of course, that's the adjustment we made. And, it was awesome to have him on the sideline on Saturday, and to be able to, for him to be in person with not only the quarterbacks, but the rest of the players that, he would need to get with, and make certain adjustments based off of what's going on in the game.
When it comes to Davis Cutter, I know we talked to you about about you a little bit before or whatever, but when did you decide that you wanted to, reach out to him and try to get him to come to Boise State? Because I know he was close to going to Missouri. And then you talk about the brotherhood and stuff. I mean, the Cutter family, it's pretty unique. They got a dad and a son in that thing. How cool is all that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the timing kind of all worked out, just as we were coming here way back in January, where he was trying to figure out, his situation and where he was going to go from his last school. And the timing worked out perfect, and he ended up, he wanted to be a Bronco all along. And so given the situation and being able to make that happen, that was a no-brainer for us, with our new staff. And, in particular, for me, knowing him and knowing, his father's who recruited me and gave me my opportunity to come here. And so it was a no-brainer situation. And he wanted to be a Bronco bad. Like I said, he wanted to be a Bronco from the beginning. So he's done a tremendous job on special teams and what he brings to the team, and in terms of his effort in all areas, and not just on offense.
Thank you, Andy.
Hey, Andy, how's it going?
What's up, BJ?
Hey, not much. Hey, with the defense, I think you guys have only given up 5 touchdowns and 14 red zone trips. And I think like 6 times in the red zone teams have come away with nothing. I mean, I know they had a lot of yards in the last game, but not many points. I mean, how big is that, what you guys have been doing in the red zone, and how important will that continue to be moving forward defensively?
Yeah, we got to improve our discipline with certain techniques and more particular our communication and eye control so that we keep ourselves out of being down there so much. But, it's always been our mentality here. We got to fight when we get down there. We got to lock in and our backs against the wall. And we spend a lot of time game planning and researching the things that we need to do down there to be successful. And it's always a huge part of the game, whether on either side of the ball in the red zone. And so it's a huge emphasis. We got to continue to be efficient and effective down there. But more importantly too, like we limit our situations and the amount of times we're down in there. That's going to be a huge to do this week.
Well, that was kind of my second question. I mean, it still seems like the explosive plays at times have been an issue on defense. And obviously you're playing a very explosive offense in Nevada with some of their receivers and with what Strong can do. How key is that, I guess, to try to limit the explosive plays?
Yeah, no question. And it's everybody on the field and, it's everybody on the field, but it starts with us too, as coaches, make sure that we're refining what we're doing in terms of the fundamentals and technique up front that help, whether it be in the run game or the pass game. And then obviously our coverage techniques and being able to communicate, make sure we're on the same page within each coverage and executing the techniques, with our eyes and our feet and making sure we got proper leverage.
Thank you.
Rick, Will, and Mike.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for your time today. Can you talk to us a little bit about the running game? I know you guys were pretty creative this week. That included Hank running quite a bit. Could you talk to us about your satisfaction with the run game so far?
Yeah, again, it's always about evaluating, finding out what we do best and where we can improve on things and what fits us. And so we were able to have multiple ball carriers, guys that carried the ball this week. There was upwards of, 8, 9 guys that carried the ball. And, one of them being Hank and making the box respect his number as a run. And, well, we can all see that wasn't happening before. And so we were able to get some yards on the ground by, allowing Hank to make some reads and some keeps. And that's going to keep people from, chasing down the backs from the edges and things like that. And whether that's getting the ball on the perimeter for the wide receivers, in sweeps and things like that. We just got to be able to keep changing it up and give different pictures and, but still be able to get the ball in our best running backs' hands, and make sure that they're getting their touches as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Andy, what stands out to you about Nevada quarterback Carson Strong?
A whole lot. I mean, he's one of the top quarterbacks there is. I mean, his accuracy, of course, he's got arm strength. He's one of the top quarterbacks in college football, but his accuracy, he's on point, he's on schedule, he's on time. That ball is out, whether it's intermediate, underneath routes, his accuracy on those routes is on, whether it's man coverage, zone coverage. The deep balls, he throws the outside 9 balls extremely well. I mean, he's got some weapons out on the perimeter. He's got some weapons all throughout the wide receiver core. And but ultimately, he is extremely, extremely accurate and stays on time, within the passing game.
How important is John Ajuku to the offensive success, and how would you describe his work ethic on and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, John's a leader, an example for the whole team, the coaches included. I mean, how that guy comes here every single day, and his urgency and his purpose is something different. And however long he gets to play this game, he wants to be a strength coach when he's done, and he's going to make one heck of a strength coach whenever that is that he's done playing this game, because he's wired different in a way that it allows him to separate himself from a lot of other people. And so, he's done an awesome job on the offensive line and trying to create some consistency on his side and making sure that, throughout the whole offensive line, the urgency and how we prepare and how we practice is a certain standard. He's been very instrumental in making sure that we're growing in that direction.
Thanks, Andy.
Andy, from day one until right now, what's the number one area where you think that this football team has improved?
Well, I think the number one area, without a doubt, behind the scenes. I mean, you guys, is difficult. It's not something that's visible to you guys. Maybe it is in certain areas because of the areas we've grown on game day. But it's really the prep and understanding how to practice with urgency. And that starts with how we get here in the mornings. And how we operate in meetings so that we're efficient on the field, so we know what's going on and we know what we're doing. Last couple of weeks, we've made huge strides, and we've got to continue to do that this week. And today was a great start to this week. The guys were awesome this morning in our meetings and our walkthrough practice today. And that's really it. Mike, is the work is done, Sunday through Friday, and then it's time. Then we're able to go cut it loose. We've again, a lot of things that didn't come up in camp, with some of this COVID protocol where we got put behind. It may not be shown on the field totally, Mike, but behind the scenes, seeing overall where, some spots we don't have a ton of depth, but guys are developing and the mentality is being built up front, again, because of some COVID protocols we got behind in camp for the majority of camp and into the beginning of the season. But it actually, the way the travel guys and the scout team guys are developing and coming along now that we have a little bit more depth, it's been really cool to see. Now we've got to keep improving in those areas. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do there still.
You addressed the explosive plays that were happening on defense against your defense earlier. Tackling, where does tackling fit into that? From my untrained, non-professional coach's eye, it seems like tackling is a little bit of an issue right now. Guys coming in high, guys trying to arm tackle. From your perspective and your background, is tackling an issue right now?
We need to do a much better job wrapping. We're not wrapping. We're trying to just knock guys down, and especially in the open field, we've got to be able to accelerate and punch and clamp and roll and take a runner, a ball carrier's motors from him in terms of his legs. And we've got to keep repping that and drilling that within, controlled settings. We don't tackle the ground in practice, but we've got to make sure that we get our fits in practice and make sure that we're getting ourselves into position to finish that practice. And when we get into some wrap periods, we know we got to take full advantage of those. And then in the controlled settings, be able to, practice taking guys to the ground.
We over here at the radio station have decided that this is the perfect week in the history of college football for Boise State. You're coming off a win. You're playing a rival. It's a 1:30 Saturday afternoon game. It's supposed to be beautiful. They're going to sell beer in the stadium. I mean, it's everything. Every box seems like it's checked. What's your idea of a perfect college football Saturday?
It's been a long time since we've had a 1:30, Mike. You know that. Back in the day, it was, hey, November hit late October, and it was 1:30 all the time, right? So we got an unbelievable challenge, this weekend, and, we're focused on that. Obviously, the setting for the fans and all that stuff and everything that comes with it is going to make it an unbelievable game day atmosphere. But ultimately, to be honest with you, Mike, I haven't thought one bit about what you just asked me. I'm focused on, we got one of the best quarterbacks in the nation coming in here, and he's got a wide receiver core that is elite, and, they got a defense that is doing some really good things. Some things that we got to prepare for.
Andy, appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.
Bob, Matt, and then Paul J.
Coach, compare Strong with Josh Allen. I mean, a lot of people think he's maybe the next Mountain West quarterback that's going to get taken. You schemed against him. You played against him. How are they similar? How are they different?
I don't know. Strong operates out of the spread primarily, obviously. That's all he operates out of. So is he capable of working out of the pro style? I'm sure he is. But his ability to work through progressions from the spread standpoint is different. It is elite. It's different than even from what, in my experience, looking at Josh when we were game planning against him and whatnot. It's his ability to stay on track, understand defenses, and get the ball out and be very accurate. Like we said, he's got some wide receivers that are some weapons, and a tight end that runs like a wide receiver, but is, got unbelievable length and size.
Much like Utah State, Boise State, and Nevada have been in multiple leagues with one another. When you think of the Boise State Nevada rivalry, what do you think of?
Yeah, it goes back. This goes way back, even years and years, obviously, decades before my experience at Boise State and what it, coming to Boise State, it was made clear that this is a huge game, for Boise State every year, and the rivalries that date back to probably even, when I was 5 years old. It's a regional game, but there's a lot of history that goes into it. And there's obviously been a bunch of unbelievable contests and battles between the two teams.
Thanks, Coach.
Matt?
Yeah. Hey, Coach. This is Matt Sizemore with Channel 6. I just had a couple questions for you about Hispanic Heritage Month. And of course, I'm sure you're aware, you're one of only 7 Hispanic head coaches in Division I football going into the season. So incredibly broad question. What does that mean to you?
Just very blessed for the opportunities that I've had, over the course of my career altogether, for all the people that, whether it be coaches or players, teammates that have had an influence and helping myself grow and not only me, but my family, and been very blessed to be a part of this game, this game that we all love, college football. I mean, that brings us all together here, and for a lot of us has become our careers, even for the media, this is the biggest part of what you guys do and what you cover. And for all of us to work together and be a part of it, we should all be grateful, and so for me, in particular to my heritage and, being a minority in the game, it's, I just hope that it provides an example that, people can achieve whatever they set their mind to, if they put their mind to it and they have purpose and they set out a plan and they stick to that plan, that they can achieve things that may even seem impossible.
Gotcha. That's a perfect segue right there. What would almost 40-year-old head coach of Boise State football, Andy Avalos, tell, say, a young 9 or 10-year-old Andy Avalos growing up in Corona, California, about the things he can achieve and barriers he could break in the future?
You know what? Just to trust yourself and surround yourself with the right people, and again, I think it's something different when you learn to compete, that no matter what it is you're going into, whether it's me or anybody else, you've got to learn how to compete from within first, and what you create inside, and how you strengthen your mind and commitment to what it is that you're trying to get done, and your relentless pursuit of trying to learn and grow. I think those are the things that are important for any young man, whether it's a child who's 9 to 10, someone who's 15 to 16, 25, or, myself about to turn 40 years old. That never changes, right? I mean, it's always about the relentless pursuit to continue to grow and find ways to improve.
All right. Thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Coach, Paul J., high snaps. Well, what about high snaps? What causes them? What can you do about them?
Well, that was there were some very scary moments there in the game, Paul J. Hank didn't panic, though. He handled some of those snaps. And we were off in the pre-snap on a couple of those. I mean, obviously the ball was snapped when it wasn't supposed to be snapped, but there were some very inaccurate snaps as well. And so we've got to, number one, it starts with our stance and our footwork, and when we're snapping. So we've got to analyze that and look and make sure that we're putting our guys in comfortable positions, or we're, adjusting certain things in our stance or how we're snapping the ball to make sure that we can clean up this accuracy, because a couple of those snaps did get us off our timing in the pre-snap when there were, some big play opportunities available.
So you're not just getting ready for Taylon Green, right?
Say it again.
You're not just getting ready for Taylon Green, who's 6'6".
Because they're so high. I got you. Yeah.
We saw him for one snap. We're going to see him more as the season goes on?
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's something that, again, if I tell you, Paul J., then I'm telling everybody else. So we'll have to see. He's very capable of doing a lot of different stuff. We got to work on his route, though, in the corner of the end zone. He kind of got jammed up a little.
What is Nevada bring to the table defensively?
Well, they're going to be a four-man front structure for the most part from what they've done this season. Now they're coming off a bye week, right? So they can adjust and do some things differently. But they're going to play some cover four, and they are going to bring some pressures, some similar schemes that we saw last week, coverage structure wise and pressure wise. So we're going to have to be able to protect the quarterback with some of these six-man pressures that they're going to bring. They will play. They've shown to play some match defense as well, some three-match defense.
The bye week an advantage for them?
I think anytime you have a bye week, it gives you an opportunity not only to focus on the next opponent, but more importantly, self-scout yourself. So I don't know. I'm sure they've used the time wisely. They got an unbelievable coaching staff and what they've done and how they built that program. So, yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, what are your self-scout philosophies? Is this something you guys do every week, or do you pick kind of the opponent that you think you need to do that in preparation for? Again, what's your self-scout philosophy?
We self-scout after every game. We not only self-scout what we did in the game, obviously, and the things we got to improve on, but overall, collectively, the whole picture, how that lines up with the rest of the season. It's not just a game deal. You got to look at patterns that you've created over the course of the year and or things that, may have not just showed up in a particular game, but actually were visible in previous games.
What was the best thing for you as a head coach about having your OC, Tim Plow, joining you on the sidelines?
Just to be able to see his interaction with the players, to be able to make adjustments up and down the bench. With all positions in person. One of the other thing that was huge is, the huddle as we're getting ready to take the field, these TV timeouts, when we're there huddled up, and to be able to see the information that he's delivering to the offense, whether it be situationally where we're at on the field, reminders of what the defense is, has done in those certain field zones, some of the things that he may want to get to on a particular drive. I mean, there's just the amount of information that he has, and he's a very intelligent coach. And it was something that we want to continue to build on is, he is on the sideline now.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we can go back through for follow-ups. So let's go BJ, Jay, and then Ron.
Hey, Andy, we talk so much about JL Skinner, and obviously leads the Mountain West in tackles and is having a heck of a year. But how, it's not always the best, is it, for a safety to lead your team in tackles? I mean, I know he's making a lot of plays, but is there a give and take there too, which means that maybe the D-line or the linebackers are missing some of those?
Yeah, we talked about that last week, right? I mean, yeah, we got to do a better job at the line of scrimmage, and we did with our fundamentals and technique. That's going to continue to pay off. How we're playing within the run game. Last week we played a box for the majority of the game, a 5-man box, given the splits and all those things that we were having to deal with. So naturally the safeties are going to have to clean up a little here and there. But in this defense for the last 10 to 12 years, the boundary safeties made 100 tackles if it's the same guy that's played all year. And that's no discredit to JL. JL is doing an unbelievable job. There's a lot of things that JL has got to get better at so that we could clean up some of these explosive plays as a leader back there, especially the communication and the eye control. But JL has done a tremendous job flying around the field. And I think that's probably more so he's not just making the plays that come to his fit. He's making other plays around the field because of how relentlessly he's playing.
Andy, you guys have played your final game of September, which means your next game is going to be in October. How do things kind of start to shift once you hit this time of year? I mean, you've obviously stacked a few games on top of each other already, so bodies are probably sore, all that. You're a few weeks away from your bye. You got BYU around the corner, all that stuff. How do things kind of shift once you get into the month of October?
Yeah, I think we found our stride. I don't know that things shift right now, Jay. I'm not sure what you're looking for with your question, but yeah.
Maybe not the best proposed question, but thanks.
Hey, hit me with that like in November, and that's typically when we're probably going to the phase that you're talking about. But right now in October, I don't know that a team in America or anyone that I've ever been involved with where things change already in October. You know,
Right.
like we spoke about, because of some COVID protocols early on in fall camp, we got to a late start with a lot of players, and now we're finally in the groove of things. And we had our best week of practice last week, and we intend to match that this week with some urgency and the tempo that our scout team plays with and how we compete at practice this week.
Thanks, Andy.
Sorry.
Andy, you talked earlier about Hank running the ball, and obviously he showed he can be a threat with his legs in this offense, but he's obviously a guy that you really can't do without either, right? I mean, how much do you want him running the ball?
I think the amount where, it's enough to make sure that teams got to respect that, Ron, that he can do that. And I think he proved that. I think he proved that he can run the ball. And we don't need Hank to run the ball 10 times a game by any means. But there's certain situations where, again, if we're not doing that, then the edge players are running down, chasing down the line, running after the running backs, and his numbers not being accounted for. So that was a huge part of even what got some things going later on in the second half, where that defense last week had to start respecting it a little bit more on the edge, and it created a little bit more up inside. Now I know, a run got called back for a penalty or whatever, but we had some nice runs there, later on in that game.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Coach, for your time.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.